I don't know if there's anybody you haven't offended, but I'm sure we'll find them. What is up, guys? How are we doing? Welcome back to another episode of The Jedi in Exile. Today, we are continuing with Bad Batch Season 3. We are at episode 5.
Yes, we are.
Entitled The Return.
Of the Mac?
Yeah, you know it. Of the Jedi?
Yeah.
So this one comes obviously straight after episode 4. We didn't
Wow.
touch on it. Yeah, well, I know, what a surprise.
Woo!
Spoilers. This kind of comes. We didn't touch on it in the last episode, but off the back of the quite emotional reunion, but also quite frosty reunion, with Crosshair and Omega making their way back to.
How did you get back?
Hunter and Wrecker.
I had some help.
I had some help. So yeah, this was well, no, give me your thoughts.
Yeah, so this there was quite a few little things in this episode that I really liked. I've written quite so when I watch an episode, I always just watch it for the fun of it, and then we always try and watch it again, don't we, to actually make some notes and talk about it. And obviously a lot of these shows are quite clever in that they are layered, that you notice things obviously afterwards. So I've made quite a lot of notes on this episode compared to normal Bad Batch episodes.
So strap in.
So yeah, did he say strap in or strap on? So first of all, there's obviously this big divide. So the episode is only like 22 minutes long, I think, or 23 minutes in runtime, but we get such a development in the batch that the episode starts with, like you say, this frostiness between mainly Hunter and Crosshair, but obviously Wrecker is involved in that a little bit. At the start of the episode, there's all this frostiness, and then obviously eventually, like a good story does, you know, it comes full circle, and we get the kind of the silent nod between Hunter and Crosshair that you just give it the old, you know, yeah, I see you, yeah, there you go. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll have seen me and Matt just nod to each other.
If you're listening on any of the podcasting platforms, that would have been a very, very awkward 10 seconds.
But we'll just say that we nodded to each other. But no, I think that we're also starting to see, and again, we touched on this in the last episode, the fact that Crosshair, we don't quite know what he's gone through back on Tantis with the whole experiments and, you know, this, that, and the other. But we know that he's now got a problem. He's got the shakes, essentially, hasn't he? Which, if you're a sharpshooter, a marksman, probably not the best thing to have. And we don't know exactly, obviously, what's caused that. I'm hoping that we're going to, you know, maybe delve a bit deeper into that. But there's quite a funny exchange, like the junior, like C-3PO Junior, that droid, giving him the, you know, the averages, the marks, however many he's made, and it's like a 50-odd% rate. And like Amiga says to Crosshair, that's still a pretty decent rate, but Crosshair is just not happy with where he is. But yeah, there's this divide between the batch, which comes full circle. Amiga seems to be almost the go-between, because obviously she's starting to build up this relationship with Crosshair, and we've touched on that in the first 4 episodes. A bond, I think, is too strong at the moment, but they've certainly developed a closeness, obviously having helped each other get off the planet. And Crosshair reminds Hunter of that in the episode, that it's the reason why Hunter is so angry is because it was Crosshair that helped Amiga get out and not Hunter. There was a couple of moments in the episode as well. The fact that Wrecker, they didn't throw out Crosshair's uniform. He brings that out, which I thought was...
I'm waiting.
Here we go.
For him to repaint,
yeah,
to get on color scheme, get on brand.
Yeah. And I think that another, like, obviously we've touched on the nod, you know, and as much as we can joke about that, it was quite nice that when Hunter and Crosshair go off to sort the power out, and, you know, we get this big monster in the fight and all of that, they needed to have the kind of the argument, the one-to-one chat. That actually got me thinking that after Order 66, I think that out of the Bad Batch, you've obviously got each clone in the Bad Batch has got some kind of, you know, power that's
like
been
specialty.
exacerbated.
Yeah.
Obviously, the cloning process is exacerbated. I think in their thinking, in general terms, Crosshair and Hunter were the most similar. and I think they are very much obviously how it turned out, the polar opposites of what happened after Order 66. And I think actually it was nice that they've now reconnected and sort of, rehashed their relationship. Because I do think that they think the same way, sort of, as soldiers in the military, but also as people. They seem to be fairly similar, in my opinion. It was nice as well. There was parallels, obviously, of this episode to episode 12 of season.
The really
2.
blatant one is the fact they're back on the same planet.
Yeah. So but the thing as well, and this is where I think like it's so little things. It's so simple. And again, I didn't notice it, to be honest, in my first watch through. I wasn't really paying attention to this bit, but you see that the snow is so much higher on the complex than
because no one's been there
because
like
no
clearing
one's obviously
it.
and and it's just been left to for the snow to build up. Also, you really realise the loss of tech in that this is quite a techie episode.
Yeah,
With
they
the
were
whole,
reliant on someone.
Yeah, needing to get the obviously rerouting the power. They needed this encrypted data pad. Needed to go to a military outpost, obviously, to be able to break the encryption. And I'm still kind of waiting for tech to just like pop round the corner and just and appear. And it's obviously. Well, I say obviously, it's not obvious, but I don't think it is going to happen. But you're still almost like holding out, whether it's hope or what it is. I just constantly thinking that the Bad Batch, now we've got Crosshair back, it's almost like, well, the Bad Batch is back together, but obviously Tech just isn't
with a missing
there.
piece.
Yeah, absolutely.
The thing that was quite I'm going to use the term heartbreaking, I think, which is probably quite strong, but, hey.
We don't mince our words here.
We, obviously, as the audience, know what went down on the planet with Crosshair.
Yeah.
And obviously, Hunter, for pretty good reason, doesn't trust Crosshair.
Yeah.
But for me, it was quite heartbreaking that he thought something was up, because Crosshair clearly wasn't being super upfront about everything. But obviously, we saw the kind of emotional toll that what happened on the planet took on Crosshair. So he obviously isn't going to want to talk about that.
Well, the whole finding the clone helmets, I mean, they were still in the same position that they were in, with the clones that died last time he was there.
Poignant scene, to be honest.
It was the start, when he was last on that planet, that was the start of the turn, or start of the end for Crosshair with the Empire, wasn't it? And it was an emotional episode in season 2 when all this happened. So yeah, absolutely. It was, and again, it's nice we had it in episode 3, the talk of M count, where no one in the batch seems to know what M count means, but obviously the audience do. So it's nice again that the audience knows things that other characters don't. I think it's really well written, and obviously the animation, etc. I think it's really well done with that, because I like knowing something that other characters don't, and waiting to see how they're going to find out this information.
Yeah, and I think that is that's the sign of good storytelling and good writing for a show, is we kind of already know stuff, but for a split second you kind of forget that you know stuff because the characters don't know stuff. So no, I thought that was quite, like, it was quite an emotional episode from that respect. The other thing, kind of just going back on your point about you keep waiting for Tech to appear because it feels like the batch is back together. I feel like when Hunter and Crosshair were kind of running away from the monster, and they were doing all the stuff where they were essentially playing the bait for the monster and everything, that kind of also very much felt like the batch is back together, like everybody using their strengths.
Yeah,
exactly. Which was, again, nice to see, but very much kind of going, Tech's not doing the techie bit, because he did.
He's not there. We get the classic Wrecker. He seems to come out with a good line in almost every
He loves
episode.
it.
And
He is the perfect PR machine.
Yeah,
He is
yeah.
Mr. Soundbite.
Yeah, there was the line, I've written it down. Why is there always a big monster? And I think sometimes you find yourself thinking like, Christ Almighty, they've got some real bad luck. They keep encountering these monsters.
There's always a bigger fish.
It reminded me of old Qui-Gon Jinn. There's always a bigger fish. Sorry, that was another bad accent.
Yeah,
from
it wasn't. That wasn't
Brian.
good. That one wasn't good.
We're ticking them off.
That one wasn't good. I don't know if there's anybody you haven't offended, but I'm sure we'll find them. No, I think again as a whole for the episode, we talked about it, or we've talked about it a few times with this series. Like, it's difficult to kind of do a rating and that sort of stuff because
This was such a different episode, though. I felt, sorry to interrupt, but this just for me felt like such a different episode in that, like I said at the start, the arc and development of one episode. This is like, it's really cemented that Crosshair's back in the fold now, whereas obviously there was that little bit of Wrecker and Hunter looking over the cliff at Amiga with Crosshair because they didn't want to leave her alone with him. Still didn't fully trust him. By the end of the episode, it's like, not all's forgiven, but we understand. You know, Hunter said he'd not done some good things, whatever.
Yeah, so I feel like that was huge in that obviously we got the nod, but we did also get the whole, like, that was Hunter's olive branch to kind of say, I understand why you feel the way you feel, but like we've all been there.
Well, I think it was like good soldiers follow orders, and I think that where the Bad Batch didn't follow orders, did they? They didn't follow Order 66, yet Crosshair was very much, he thought he was doing the right thing in following orders, and obviously that's what he's been bred to do, that's what he's been trained to do, so he just felt like he was being a good soldier. But we know there's more to being a good soldier, don't we?
Well, we do now.
Yeah.
That one always felt a bit strange for me in regards to that being the hill that he tried to die on, because obviously as the Bad Batch they were
constantly not follling orders.
Well, not necessarily not following orders,
but
kind of like
way,
doing.
They weren't
doing
normal clones, were they?
Exactly.
Obviously,
exactly. But no, like I like it. Obviously, the episode in season 2 was such a massive episode in its own right, but I like the fact that not only did it have all of the stuff that happened that had a massive impact on season 2, but the fact that we've come back and there's all the nods, like the fact that we know that the energy was being used on those, like, on the like fencing, let's call it, to keep the monster out.
Yeah, it's like, you know what's going to happen, but it's still entertaining when you watch it.
And never did I watch that season 2 episode and think they're setting something up that's going to happen next season potentially.
No, I think it's cool. I think that one thing. So I'm interested to see where obviously the series goes, because we know it's the last series of the Bad Batch, how it's all going to end. Now with the whole M count thing and Project Necromancer, like all of that being summarized in the next sort of 10-ish episodes, 10, 11 episodes. But also, there's a storyline that I keep wanting to talk about that I feel like is so under the radar, and I don't think we've really discussed it too much, but Emery, as much as I love doing her voice and the accent, which I won't do again, I won't.
Let's not go there.
In a serious point, I want to know a bit more about her. I want to know how important she is in this story, or is she a bit of a red herring that they've put her in there as a clone, but she doesn't really make any difference to the story. And I just want to know if she relates to anything, because clearly she seems to have a bit of a closeness with Amiga. She's a clone. Is she an altered clone in the sense of has she been sped up, her aging process sped up like Rex and like a the Regs,
clone.
The Regs. Or is she a bit more like Amiga? Was she cloned ages ago? Etc. etc. So it's such an under the radar storyline that really it's not really been focused on at all, obviously, has it really? She had the big reveal that I'm a clone, but then nothing really from there. And I'm really intrigued. That's the bit for me, as much as obviously I want to know what happens to the Batch, what happens to Amiga, etc. etc. I'm really intrigued with Emery and how she fits in, because she's a scientist, like how she fits in with the whole plot.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's there's also the parallel with her with Amiga and the fact that Amiga was kind of Nalase's
Apprentice.
protege,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
kind of was learning how to like take care of them and deal with some of the cloning stuff. And clearly, maybe Omega wasn't the first.
Speaking about Nala Say, what an annoying voice! Like how slowly she talks. I'd be like, "Come on, just get it out, get it out."
She reminds me of the sloth guy that works at the DMV on
Yeah,
Zootropolis or whatever.
Yeah, she'd be a really good DMV
Yep. Yeah.
attendant. Yeah.
Um,
I think we should end on probably that note on
Yeah.
us on Nala Say with her big neck and slow
yeah,
words.
she loves it. She loves it.
She does.
No, that's our thoughts, guys. Obviously we're in episode 5.
Yeah.
Still lots of questions to be answered by the rest of the season. Still excited to see what happens for the rest of the season.
Absolutely.
So you guys let us know your thoughts, all the usual social handles and the comments section. And other than that, guys, we will see you all really, really soon in the next one.
May the force be with you all.